Should you forgive the person who betrayed you, the person who committed infidelity, the person who cheated on you in your relationship? Should you forgive that person? It is a legitimate question, and a lot of people ask it. But there are a lot of people who don't even ask the question. They just say, absolutely not. And I understand, I completely understand why they say, don't forgive. So before we jump into this video, let's talk about what happens when you forgive, what happens if you don't forgive. Let's talk about why we're even having this conversation. And then I want to give you a little bit of a track, some important principles to grasp as it relates to why forgiveness is not enough by itself. All right, so should you forgive the person who cheated on you, who betrayed you, who broke your heart, who put you in a bind emotionally, who sprung on you the biggest, most painful shock probably that anyone can experience, which is betrayal? I call it the emotional tsunami that takes place. It is extraordinary in terms of the pain that betrayal causes. Should you forgive them? What happens when you forgive? What happens when you don't forgive? Well, if you have forgiven, you are an extraordinary person. You are, I want to say otherworldly. Maybe that's a little bit too much, but I'm telling you, you are a special person to forgive someone who has done that to you. To forgive someone means that you've decided, I will never hold this thing against you anymore. I'll never hold it against you anymore. I'm moving on. It's not a thing anymore. Yes, it was offensive. Yes, it hurt. Yes, it was painful, but I'm never going to hold this against you anymore. That's pretty extraordinary. Not everybody has that kind of moral fortitude and moxie. I'm telling you, it's hard to forgive. Like I'm in people work every day, talking to people about their relationship with God and his forgiveness. Like when you forgive people, you are mimicking God. That's pretty amazing. So pat yourself on the back if you have or intend or plan to forgive someone who has betrayed you. Now, for people who say, I can't do that, no judgment here. Absolutely no judgment here. But let me tell you what happens when someone forgives. One of the things that happens is that the person who has betrayed you will either appreciate that you forgave them or they will misunderstand what the forgiveness means. Oh, this is going to be good. Do not miss a line in this video. This is going to be good. You can forgive someone and they can misunderstand what forgiveness means. In other words, they can think that forgiveness means you don't hurt anymore, that it's not painful anymore, that somehow you are superhuman. And the worst thing that anyone could have done to them by betraying them, cheating on them, stepping outside of the marriage, that they're somehow superhuman and can just bounce back and move on and everything is cool. That is a major misunderstanding. That's one of the things that happens when you forgive, especially if you forgive too soon. So when I'm working with couples, I talk to them, I challenge them to be very, very clear about when to forgive and how to express that forgiveness. Because if the person who's been betrayed forgives too soon, those painful implications begin to happen. Someone will take for granted that they're superhuman, as I said. Another thing that happens when a person forgives too soon or when there's been forgiveness, what's possible to happen is that the person who's been forgiven can be very, very appreciative, deeply appreciative. And that's really what you want to see. You want to see that there is an appreciation for what it means, that there is real empathy for what it means for that person who's been betrayed, who's been faithful, to actually forgive. And so that's a wonderful thing. It can lead to some amazing repairs within the marriage relationship when there is forgiveness. Now let's talk about the people who struggle to forgive. Can I just be 100% honest? That can be any of us, including me, any day of the week, because forgiveness is not easy to give. And I don't want anyone to feel judged who's watching this video, no matter where you are. If you're struggling with forgiving the person who betrayed you, you're really kind of human. You're really normal. But let's just talk about what happens when you fail to forgive or you refuse to forgive. I think that's a better way to put it. When you refuse to forgive, it can linger and create bitterness, toxic bitterness that can literally begin to impact your physical body, your emotional state, your mental well-being. And so I want to encourage you, whatever you do, get some help with forgiving, because I don't want to see you become hindered, weighed down, worn down by the toxicity that follows the inability to forgive or the refusal to forgive. And when there's not forgiveness, it makes it very difficult. In fact, it's not difficult, it is impossible to heal the relationship where there's no forgiveness. You might stay together, you might be together, but you're not going to heal, because you can't heal where there is no forgiveness. Now, let's get into what I really wanted to talk about in this video. Let's talk about this tug of war some more with forgiveness. Let me give you three statements. Let me give you the first one. Forgiveness without rebuilding trust fixes nothing. If there is forgiveness without the person who was unfaithful working hard to rebuild trust, nothing gets fixed. Forgiveness without working on rebuilding trust leaves the person who was wounded, who was harmed, who was cheated on, it leaves them with no real fix, at least not from the person who cheated on them. It's really important to get this. Like, if you forgive somebody, but they don't work to rebuild trust, then you're not fixing the relationship. And you're not fixing the emotional wound, that tsunami that I talked about earlier, right? It's almost like the tsunami comes and it upends your life and everything gets disrupted and your whole world is turned upside down. And then you forgive, but the other person doesn't work to rebuild the trust that's been decimated. It's almost as if the tsunami has no space to recede and to calm. And even if it recedes, life is still very, very much upended. Things are all over the place. I use this metaphor, this picture of the tsunami, when I talk to couples about what happens emotionally to the person who's been betrayed, because it's the best picture that I can find. In fact, in my upcoming book, and you should be looking for it, it's called The Emotional Tsunami. I talk about this tsunami that happens when a person discovers that they've been cheated on, and it messes with their mind, it messes with their appetite, it messes with their sense of foundation in life, like what's true, what can I count on, who can I trust? I thought I could trust you, but now I see that I can't. And why would you do this to me? And what do we really have? And who are we anyway? Who are you? I thought I knew you. I mean, it is a whole gamut of things, and it's overwhelming. And so if you forgive the person who betrayed you, but they are not willing to embark on the journey, and I'm talking about a journey, like this ain't no overnight proposition. This is not some easy patch. I'm just going to make it up to you. I'm going to buy you flowers, or I'm going to buy you something, depending on who did the betrayal. You're tracking with me? This is not an easy fix. That means if you're going to forgive someone, it would be really wonderful if they would be willing to do some hard work to rebuild your trust. Because at the core of the infidelity is the destruction of trust in a relationship. And if there's no trust in a relationship, we can't have a relationship. Good relationships, real relationships, are built on trust. Now, if you want a flimsy relationship, if you're okay with superficial, trust is not necessary. But I don't think that's what you want. I think you really want a relationship. Everybody wants somebody they can trust. So when forgiveness happens and there's no rebuilding of the trust, it fixes nothing. It leaves a relationship. It leaves you realizing that this relationship doesn't have much potential and possibility anymore at all. And if you are not married to someone who cheated on you and they're not willing to go the distance to rebuild and regain your trust, walk away. Listen, bounce, get out, roll, skate, whatever you got to do, because that is a dead end relationship. All right, let's talk about this next principle. Forgiveness without healing hinders trust. So if you forgive someone and they're not working to rebuild trust, which leads to healing, then it hinders trust. So if you're not healing, if you're not recovering, if you're not regaining your sense of stasis, your equilibrium, because the person is focused on the things that are necessary for you to heal. Trust is at the foundation of it, it's core, but it's also that there are things like transparency, honesty, integrity, empathy. In another video, we'll break that down, but those are the things that lead to healing. And if you're not healing because this gaping wound in your life from the infidelity continues to be open and irritated and constantly rubbed against because the person who cheated on you just has no idea that if they just keep doing the things they did, they're not transparent. They just keep opening their phone the same way. They keep going about their schedule and their life the same way. They just keep doing them. Then you're not able to heal. And so you won't be able to trust. And I'm telling you that if they will focus on your healing, and the healing journey is a powerful one. What I want couples to know is that the healing journey is real and healing is possible. Ooh, I'm a hope dealer. I tell people when I'm working with couples who have been through this thing, this emotional tsunami, this infidelity, I remind couples I am a hope dealer. I ain't stupid. I'm not crazy. I'm not thinking everybody's going to do this work, but I'm telling you, if you will do the work that I coach couples to do in my course and in my coaching, then you can heal. And listen to me, track with me. Don't miss this. Even if the other person doesn't want to heal, you should work to be healed. Yeah, if the person who betrayed you doesn't want to heal, you should still work to heal, and you can heal. And let's take you on a journey of healing so that you can have your strength back. You can have your joy back. You can have your peace back. You can learn how to discern better and you can know who to trust and who not to trust. But you can get all of your wherewithal, your emotional strength and sanity back. You can heal. The point here is that forgiveness without healing hinders trust from emerging. Because the more a person works with intentionality to help someone heal who has been betrayed, if that unfaithful partner really zeroes in, really gets focused on the healing, then trust begins to emerge. And it takes time. I was working with a couple in the last year, and they've been through some brutal infidelities. And we began talking and working. And I said, "Hey, how are things now?" And one of the spouses says, I feel like I'm starting to heal. I said, I noticed that you are a little cautious about admitting or saying or sharing that you're healing. I said, what's the caution about for you? What do you think is happening? And that person said, I'm cautious because I'm not sure if what I'm seeing is real. I'm feeling better, but I don't know if it's going to last. I'm feeling better, but I don't know if another shoe is going to drop, if some other news is going to come out, if there's going to be another act of infidelity, but I'm feeling like I'm healing. So I'm trying to trust. Are y'all tracking with me? It's almost this idea, like I saw this turtle one time sitting on a rock and people were walking by the rock. And so the closer people got to the rock, the more the turtle would go into its shell. And then when people get past, the turtle will come back out and gather some more from the sun rays. And what I realized was happening is much of what happens when infidelity is taking place is when a person feels threatened, they recoil. They go into their shell because they're not sure if they can trust what's happening. But when they feel safe, when people are at a safe distance, when there's an environment of safety, this turtle rather, stick its head out. And I think that's what happens in the lives of people who have been wounded by infidelity. And so it's a process, but the more there's focus on the healing, the more trust can be rebuilt and it begins to re-emerge to the point where the person who was cheated on can begin to feel like, oh, I can actually trust what I'm seeing. But take it from me, it is a process. never give your trust away cheaply. Oh, that's a bar. Did y'all catch that? Never ever give your trust away cheaply. Listen, even Jesus, who loves the whole world, he said, the Bible says that he would not entrust himself to men because he knew what was in the hearts of men. So when it comes to trust, take your time. Let the other person be focused on the elements and the pathway for healing so that you can recover, and then you can begin to trust. Okay, here's the last principle. Forgiveness with healing renews trust. I'm simply saying this more directly. Where there's forgiveness and the person who committed the infidelity is empathic, they are compassionate toward the person who suffered. Where there is healing and where there is forgiveness, there is renewed trust. And I'm telling you, where there's forgiveness and the person who hurt you or the person who committed the infidelity is committed to appreciating the forgiveness, focusing on the healing, causes trust to be as if this pain had never happened again. I'm telling you, I know you don't believe me if you've been through infidelity, but it is absolutely possible for trust to be solid because healing and forgiveness are a powerful combination. They're like two sides of a coin. When you can't have a coin without two sides, by the way, in case you didn't know. The nature of a coin is that it's got two sides. It's like a wall. A wall has two sides. Maybe it's an inside and an outside. It's like a floor. It's got two sides. It's got an up and it's got a down. This thing for healing infidelity requires the two-sided coin, if you will, of forgiveness and healing. And my hope for you, my desire for you, my encouragement to you, especially if you're the person who betrayed someone, is that you will not only appreciate forgiveness, you will honor them so much and you will work toward their healing. You'll work toward rebuilding trust that they will feel more comfortable with expressing forgiveness to you. That's going to take time. Don't rush it. Don't demand it. Don't act like somebody owes you forgiveness if you betrayed them. Just give it time and do the work. And I'm telling you, if you will do the work, you can get the results and your relationship can be better than ever before. Whatever you do, don't just throw your love away, but work to have something greater after the storm so that you can really, really be who you're supposed to be, have the love you're supposed to have, experience the joy of companionship and relationship and marriage, and then you'll know that healing is absolutely possible. Hey, I'm Rod Harrison. Thank you for being here with me. Hey, if you haven't already subscribed, please do. If you like this video, please let me know. If this content is helpful to you, drop something in the comments and keep your eyes open for the Intimacy Reset Challenge. The Intimacy Reset Challenge is a powerful 5-night challenge where couples come in who are tired of living like roommates, who are tired of that icky feeling between the two of them. I'm going to teach you how to build intimacy, the kind of real intimacy, connection that's kind of like, in fact, it's better than, it feels better than what you were like when you first met, when you first fell in love. So make sure you click on the link, sign up for our next challenge, and let's help you rebuild trust and build great intimacy so that you can have the relationship that you have always dreamed of, the marriage you've always dreamed of. Give your relationship the oxygen that it has been gasping for. All right, I'll see you in the next video.